The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you. Thank you very much. So the Supreme Court has dropped, as you all know by now, a 6-3 bomb on President Trump's signature trade policy. I'm telling you right now, this one's going to be talked about for decades to come, literally decades. But I want to break it all down for you because what the ruling really says has yet to be discussed in mainstream media. Really. Who betrayed who, what it means for you, your job, your wallet, and most importantly, the complete playbook that President Trump is going to use and, in fact, has already started using to fight back and to win even bigger than before. So if you love raw and no-spin America First truth, smash that like button right now, ladies and gentlemen, and head over to YouTube to subscribe on my channel, The Right Side with Doug Billings. You're going to find about 157,000 or so other people waiting for you who have already subscribed over on YouTube at The Right Side Doug Billings and on X and Truth Social at Doug Billings. If you're into Facebook, at The Right Side Doug Billings over there. So you never miss a beat. You're always in touch. So let's get into this. The ruling and what actually happened. So on Friday, February 20th at 9:47 a.m. Eastern Time, the Supreme Court struck down Liberation Day. Well, the Liberation Day tariffs, right? The sweeping 10% across the board tariffs and duties, plus the reciprocal mirror tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. So the rest of the world also had some tariffs as well. President Trump imposed under what's called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA for short. 6 justices said no. 3 justices said, hell yeah. So the majority opinion, the no votes, Chief Justice John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, who doesn't know what a man or a woman is. The dissent, the people, the good guys, Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh. So, yep, 2 of President Trump's own appointees went the other way on this one, and Chief Justice Roberts wrote the opinion for the majority. And I'll just quote it for you here so you have it. He said, and I quote, "The International Emergency Economies Power Act does not grant the president unbound authority to impose tariffs on imports. The statute speaks of regulating importation, not taxing it. Congress did not hide elephants in mouse holes." Okay. Thank you, Chief Justice. Justice Clarence Thomas fires back in the minority opinion in dissent and says this: "For over 40 years, presidents of both parties have invoked IEEPA to adjust tariffs, impose sanctions, and protect American industry. The majority today rewrites history and ignores the broad discretion Congress intentionally gave the executive. This is not judicial restraint. This is judicial supremacy dressed up as humility." So, in layman's terms, Clarence Thomas is saying, hey, look, presidents for years, decades, have used IEEPA to invoke tariffs. Why start complaining about it now? And in fact, Congress gave them leeway to do it. Justice Thomas went a bit further also, reminding everyone that the very first Congress in this republic in 1789 gave the president tariff authority, and every major trade law since then has expanded that authority. Justice Thomas called it a dangerous contradiction of executive power at the exact moment America needs it most. All right, so what this means for you. The immediate reaction was, well, the Dow, the stock market, dropped 180 points. It's rebounded since. Oil spiked a bit. The dollar strengthened. The short-term consequences. So consumer prices on electronics and clothing, auto parts, steel, could drop 5 to 12% in the coming months. Your Walmart and your grocery bill might feel a little bit lighter. In the long term, the American manufacturing jobs that were finally coming back, steel mills in Pennsylvania and Ohio, auto plants in Michigan and Wisconsin, they're all now at risk of stalling. Now, the United States Treasury, wow, they'll lose $28 to $35 billion a year that was supposed to go to infrastructure, to border security, and paying down the debt. And what about China? China is the main reason, one of the main reasons, that Trump was invoking tariffs in the first place. Well, China is laughing all the way to the bank. And of course, the left started celebrating immediately. MSNBC said, "The day the imperial presidency died." Right. CNN, "Court saves American consumers." So the translation is, of course, whenever MSNBC and CNN and these legacy radical liberal networks begin to speak, you can almost always count on the opposite being true. So that the translation, what they're really saying is, thank God we slowed Trump down because he was impeding and stopping our liberal radical agenda. I mean, that's really what they're saying. So, but here's my question for every one of you who are watching or listening to my voice now. Is this action by the Supreme Court checks and balances, or is it deep state in robes? I put it to you. So here, let me talk about the issue about how we got here and the players who are involved here. The lawsuits about all of these tariffs were filed in late January of 2025 by retail giants, importers, and blue states attorneys general, all right, led by a group called American Import Council, which has heavy ties to George Soros-linked groups and China-friendly lobbies. Says a lot right there. Oral arguments on the tariffs issue began last November, and we began to see the writing on the wall to a degree. Barrett and Gorsuch were skeptical, calling a permanent trade imbalance an emergency. They weren't convinced that the trade imbalances that we are experiencing from China, Russia, Canada, etc., at all, were classified, or properly so, as emergencies. Thomas and Alito pushed back a little harder on them, but Donald Trump, as soon as we heard about the ruling the other day, went right to his social media platform, Truth Social. I'm on that one too. Follow me, at Doug Billings. And Trump said, quote, "This is a disgrace. The Supreme Court just took away America's greatest negotiating tool. We're going to fight back and win bigger than ever before." And he will. And I'm going to explain why. Many times, ladies and gentlemen, these kinds of rulings, once we get over the initial, mushroom cloud of anger, confusion, dismay, or whatever, as truth begins to settle, we understand that sometimes, many times, these kinds of things turn out to be blessings in disguise. So the complete fight back playbook that President Trump is already using since this ruling. And by the way, keep in mind, this was not the Supreme Court saying, you can't use tariffs, Mr. President. They weren't saying that at all, not even close. What they were saying is that you can't use IEEPA to implement the kind of tariffs that you're doing. But as I'm going to tell you right now, there are many, many other ways that President Trump can invoke tariffs, and he's already starting to do it. So this ruling is not the end. It's the beginning of the next phase. That's all. So here's exactly what President Trump can do and is doing right now. Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 talks about national security and tariffs. So putting tariffs in place, no cap and no sunset on them. 12 of these investigations are already running on things like semiconductors, big pharma, critical minerals, automotive industries, and so forth. And we can expand that. Trump can expand that tomorrow, and he will. Number 2, Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 deals with unfair trade practices. So Trump is going to absolutely just crush and hammer China, Canada, and Mexico with mirror tariffs. Trump used this in his first term, and they stayed even under Joe Biden. So it's been done before. He's going to do it again. Tariffs, more of them in place, okay? Number 3, Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. Now, this is a quick 15% across-the-board tariff for 150 days to fix the trade deficit and get the unfair players to the table to negotiate equal or fair deals. The fourth thing that President Trump is going to do is use Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930. Now, this deals with retaliation tariffs up to 50% on discriminatory countries. In other words, he'll put this in place for the countries who aren't treating us fairly. So there's 4 ways, boom, 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 that Trump is going to begin on Monday morning with, and he's already begun. I've checked his social media. He's already begun doing this. So the Supreme Court, again, didn't say that we can't use tariffs. You just can't use IEEPA. All right, so we'll use these other ways. And there it is. It's that simple. Trump actually wins here. So the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, said, and I'm going to quote him, "We can react the same tariff structure, or recreate the same tariff structure." Okay? 301s, 232s, 122s, etc. So he agrees with me, and that's what they're doing. They're going to do it. They already are. We win. So these kind of reset opinions from the Supreme Court are fine. All right, move that way. We know we can't go that way, so we'll just go this way. And conservatives, President Trump, all about staying within the bounds of the law. But yeah, it was a test to see if we could do it that way with the IEEPA. We can't, so we'll go on and do it other ways. Now, the U.S. Trade Representative in this thing, Jamieson Greer, he promised action by the next day, which means today, right? So yesterday we got the ruling. Today, Jamieson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, is on the case. Now, in Congress, House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune have already put bills in place to explicitly give the president broad tariff authority. And with GOP majorities, this can be on the president's desk in about 4 to 8 weeks, pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. Now, the historical lesson here and some of the biggest takeaways for all of us. We've been here before, ladies and gentlemen. This is nothing new. And when we were here before, we won also. President Nixon in 1971 put 10% surcharge increases in tariffs to get better deals from countries who weren't dealing with us fairly. President Reagan used targeted tariffs to protect steel and the automotive industry while he negotiated better deals. So this 6-3 ruling is actually a wake-up call, a clarion call, if you will, for true Article 1 restoration of powers granted to the executive. So the 3 biggest takeaways, in my opinion: number 1, Article 1 of the Constitution still matters. Congress owns the commerce power. Number 2, President Trump is not out of options, not even close. In fact, 90 to 95% of the protections that we were already enjoying with tariffs can be rebuilt in just a matter of weeks. And number 3, this is not defeat. As I said, it's a clarion call for the American people to rise up and restore the system of our founders. That's what this is. So your action is a powerful action, and you have homework here. Here's what I want you to do. Before 10 o'clock a.m. tomorrow morning, I want you to pick up your phone and call your congressman and your 2 senators and tell them exactly this. Quote me on this. Replay this, write it down, whatever, but you need to tell them exactly this. Mr. or Mrs. Congressman or Senator, support immediate legislation to restore broad presidential tariff authority for national security and reciprocity. America first means giving the president the tools that he needs to pass that bill now. So you can find Congress and senators' phone numbers in 30 seconds if you just go to congress.gov. Okay, that's your congressman, senate.gov. Look them up, get their numbers, 45 seconds tops, and you've got them. So, ladies and gentlemen, America, the world, the Supreme Court can slow us down a bit, and they did, and we're going to readjust, and we're going to get it right, and we're going to go on. They can't stop the tariffs, and they weren't even trying to stop the tariffs. Again, they were simply saying, you can't use IEEPA, Mr. President. Mr. President says, all right, well, here's 3 or 4 other ways that we're going to use them, and he already has started doing it. So, again, people out there become, in some degree or form or fashion, seduced by the headlines of the news. I'm here to tell you what goes on behind the headlines. President Trump turns roadblocks into rocket fuel, ladies and gentlemen. The factories that were coming back, they're still coming here. The leverage that we have on China, it's still there. The American worker, still the priority. See, that's the beauty about conservatives. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. Sounds like we're a bunch of Marines out there. Well, we have that tenacity. Adapt, improvise, overcome. So we are not victims of 9 lawyers in robes who are in Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen. We are the people who built the greatest republic on the face of the earth, and we're taking it back. That's why the radical liberal movement is all up cheering, popping champagne bottles about all of this. It's like everything, every kind of movement from the left, every kind of celebratory moment they have is soon taken away because they live and work and breathe in Kookville. We are in reality, and we're taking the country back because we believe and we know that we are the way to get back to the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers in regards with and about which this country was founded. And the inspiration of the country lies in those two things, the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. We are the only major political party in America, conservatives, who believe in those two avenues that this country should be following. So checks and balances. Tell me, drop me your thoughts in the comments section below, ladies and gentlemen. Checks and balances or deep state in robes? What do we got here? What's going on with the Supreme Court? And tell me what you think Trump should do next. If this got you fired up, like this video, subscribe to me over on YouTube, please. Just go to YouTube and search out at the right side Doug Billings. Hit that little red bell they've got over there. That'll make sure that you get notified every time I drop new content. It's all free. And like I said earlier, 156,000 or so some odd people waiting for you to join them over there. Follow me on X and on Truth Social at Doug Billings. And if you're into Facebook, at the right side Doug Billings. Daily updates, unfiltered truth, pure conservatism. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right side. The truth, the fight, it's on this side for sure. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the United States. And remember, we're in this thing together. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, Doug Billings. Hey, my good friends at EMP Shield, that's electromagnetic pulse, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri. Electromagnetic pulse could wipe out your home electrical system, could wipe out your vehicle. And thanks to the radical liberal agenda that was put forth under Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris, there are lots of people in this country who want to do us harm. And maybe an EMP device would be their chosen weapon. But EMP Shield gives you a device that can protect you. This little baby here goes on your home outlets, a computer, a router, whatever you want to protect. And then they also have a larger model like this. You can still hold it in the palm of your hand that goes on your vehicle battery so that you can get out of trouble from point A to point B. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen. Save yourself. Save your property. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug. We're in this together, folks. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.